Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first edition of the Progressive Soul Dialogues. I am Andra, and I'm going to be chatting with Penny today about intentions. Hi, Penny.
Hi, Andra. Oh, intentions. That's a good one.
So, before we dive into intentions, I'd like to touch a bit on what's the progressive soul and why are we coming at, you know, these dialogues from this progressive soul perspective. Let's give our listeners a bit of an insight into that.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking a little bit about my spiritual and mediumistic journey, and a few years ago now, it's 3 or 4 years ago, I was thinking about how much I've changed and that we are already a soul, we're already a spirit, we're already a part of consciousness, and we've got a physical body. And I was contemplating all of these things and how life has taken me along different courses of action and reaction. And I really kind of thought, oh, it's progressive. And if you let life, it is a journey, and it is an unfolding. And so I was kind of thinking about all these different words and what have you. And I think that your our spiritual progression is, you don't necessarily have to be a medium to have a spiritual progression. And um you might want to unfold your mediumistic abilities or psychic abilities and whatever, but whether you're psychic or mediumistic or not, you're still a soul and you're still progressing, and it's still a part of life. And part of spiritualism and the philosophy and teachings of spiritualism is that the soul continues beyond physical death. So anyway, I came up with the Progressive Soul series, or the Progressive Soul, and I was playing around with it. And I did a 10-week development group based on the Progressive Soul. So in that sense, it was focused on mediumistic and psychic ability. But in a wider sense, the Progressive Soul, or the Progressive Soul series, is about learning and growth, whether that be in life, whether that be in spiritual unfoldment, whether that be in mediumistic terms. It's just that progression. So I see myself as a progressive soul, but I see everybody as a progressive soul. So these dialogues might be a way in which people might listen to things and evolve, and it might get them thinking. It might get them to learn something new. It might get them pondering life in the universe like I do. And it might then help them progress. And so it's a part of the progressive soul.
Right, no pressure, folks. And there's no pressure there to learn or evolve. Take it easy. um, okay, so what's an intention then? And how does an intention feed into the progressive soul?
Well, in my own personal experience, I came to realize that if I put pressure on myself to do something or achieve something, it was just that, a pressure. It was something that maybe I then resisted against, and or beat myself up over because I did or didn't achieve something. And anyway, I like to look at different philosophies and theories and what have you. And ever since I can remember, I've been fascinated by the moon and the moon cycles and all that sort of thing. And so I started to put a few different things together. And, you know, everything is energy. Everything's about energy. Thoughts are energy. you and I are energy. Our my voice, your voice is a vibration, which is energy. So, you know, everything kind of breaks down to a form of energy. Even the words we use have an energy about them. And so intentions is a really positive affirmation or a word to use, you know, to have an intention to create an intention to work within, or parameters. So when I work with the spirit world, my intention is to be the best I can be at that time, to serve for a greater good, and to do my best. So I have those intentions, those parameters I work within. So I started to use intentions in an annual sense. So um, I was thinking one year, I don't really like these New Year resolutions, because it tends to be something where we think, oh, I'm going to give up smoking. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to go to the gym every month. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And we kind of set these goals and these New Year resolutions. And then more often than not, they get broken. You know, we start smoking again. I mean, I was a smoker once upon a time, and every time I sort of vowed to stop smoking in the new year, it was always going to be like, at the new year, I vow I'm going to stop smoking. And so it was going to come, it was going to come. Then the time came and I'd stop for a couple of days and then I'd be back on it, you know. So, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. So um, in my sort of spiritual philosophies and looking at other ideologies and things, I realized that, you know, the in the northern hemisphere we have the winter solstice, which is you know, around about the 21st, 22nd of December. It alters by a day or two each year. And so the winter solstice is the shortest day of the year. And then we, you know, from that day on, it gets a little brighter each day. And I thought, oh, that energy, the thought of that, the philosophy of that is quite nice. And rather than having New Year's resolutions on the 31st of December, I'm going to have some intentions that I'm going to set for my year ahead. So it's that it's a moment of birth, if you like. So the winter solstice, shortest day of the year, it's like a new beginning, a fresh start. And so it all seemed a lot more positive to me. And over a couple of years, I set these intentions and I started to realize the power of it, because for example, and you need to be careful when you set your intentions because you don't quite know how they'll manifest. But I think I had set an intention to learn how to be more patient, or to, you know, towards other people or something like that. I can't remember what it was now because it was quite a long time ago. But when I looked back, because when I do my intentions, I sort of set them, I think very carefully about them. I make a little sort of ceremony of it, if you like. And then I folded up the piece of paper and I put it in a special little box. And then when it comes to the next year, the next winter solstice, I'll look back over my intentions and see how they've manifested over the year. And there was one year where I'd had a difficult time with being bullied and things like that. And in that year, I learned how to send healing to people who weren't being very kind towards me. And it was such a beautiful experience in the end, because I felt such a positivity about being able to send healing to people that weren't being kind to me. And I realized that it was such a giant step, and it kind of freed me from feeling a bit of a victim about being bullied, because I realized that if people are bullying me, then they need healing more than I do, because there's
Mm.
something in them perhaps that they need to deal with, and that's not my responsibility. So I set that intention, and it became a really freeing experience. So some of the intentions can be smaller, some of them can be bigger, but they can sometimes manifest in a way that you least expect, but can have such a profound um, personal experience for you. And I find that the most powerful intentions are when it's not focused on material things, like, I'm going to win the lottery this year.
Fair
um,
enough. Okay, so mind you, folks, don't set an intention for that because it ain't gonna work. So, what are they good for then?
well, I think they're really good for your soul's progression, like for your own personal growth. So, like in that example I gave you, um, it was a spiritual growth and a personal growth and a very freeing experience. And it came about in a way that I didn't expect.
Mm.
So it also gave me a sense of confidence. So setting intentions is about um, being positive, creating an energy to help something grow, and to um, give it a positive energy. So, in the example of the New Year's resolutions, it tends to be, I'm going to wait until this time of year and I'm going to give up smoking, and I will do it this time, and then we usually break it. Whereas the intention is kind of setting it and then setting it free. So rather than then harboring it, you're just, you focus and you set it, and then you set it free. You set it free from yourself and your mind, and you let it manifest. So it's helping a positive change occur. That's how I like to see it. And it doesn't have to be restricted to the winter solstice. It could be a new moon. It could be your birthday. It could be your anniversary of something. So anything that has a new birth or a positive anniversary or event is and has that new energy about it, is a good time to set an intention. And I found that in just kind of setting intentions around new moons or solstices or birthdays or anniversaries and things like that, it tends to help bring like that positive energy to the situation. And of course, a new moon has that energy just in those words,
Hmm.
new moon.
Quite powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do we set one? Can you guide us through a process of what do we need to do so we set one? And you just mentioned about the timing, which is great because I wanted to touch on that. But if we were to give a few steps of setting an intention, how would those steps look like? And any things to be mindful of, because you mentioned about the power of words and their energy and all of that. So
Mm.
what?
Okay, so I think it's important to be comfortable with what you're doing. So for me, I've looked into the energy of timings and using new moon, new anniversaries, and so forth. And that's what works for me. That's quite powerful for me, and using that energy, that timing. But it's also about being comfortable with it. So for me, I like to clear my mind and just spend a little bit of time contemplating, like, what is it that I would like to focus on to make me a better person? What is it that I would like to bring towards me? So to create opportunity. So for example, I might I think one year I had set the intention for new opportunities and to say yes to anything reasonable. And so that's where I put the caveat in. So it's okay to say yes to everything, but what if somebody suggests something that's really quite illogical and silly and you don't want to do? Like, let's say somebody suggests, hey, I'm low on money, let's commit a crime. You're not going to say yes to that, are you? you
Fair
know
enough.
so I mean, I'm using an extreme example, but you've got to you wouldn't logically, you wouldn't say yes to everything that came to you. So so I think I set the intention of welcoming new opportunities, and that I would say yes to anything that seemed reasonable. And in that particular year, I had been offered some new ventures that I never anticipated happening. So I got asked to do an interview online, and here we are doing some like chats together. So it sort of created an ongoing experience of doing interviews and vlogs and podcasts and things like that, where before the thought of doing such a thing was too frightening to me. So, by setting an intention for new opportunities, it allowed the universe to bring some things towards me that perhaps I would have been afraid or scared to do in the past. And so I decided I would take that as a positive sign, and I did the interview, and I was nervous, yes, but it seemed to go well and it got a good response. So, and then it seemed to bring other new opportunities in the form of interviews and things towards me. So then, of course, COVID happened, a couple of years later, and here we are in 2020 going through it. And guess what? Everybody's doing interviews. It's the thing to do now. But you know what? That's okay. You know what? My intention did not create COVID. I just want to say that right there. But I just think, we adapt and we change, and if we allow opportunity to come to us in a form that we might not have sought out, it can be a positive experience, and it can take you on a journey that you would least expect. So that's in a broad sense one of those things. So part of the caveat is think about when you're setting an intention, just think about carefully about how you word it, because words have energy. And as I said, you wouldn't say yes to everything, but you might say yes to new opportunities that seem adventurous and seem reasonable.
Okay. What would we do if we find ourselves in a bit of a pickle because we set intentions that lacked specificity? I feel that's like a thread that has circulated in your answers so far.
Mm.
But specificity can be hard to to touch upon, especially when we're just starting off. So what would you what would you recommend? What would be like the
Well, I
approach to
think
take?
I think you need to be specific, but not too specific. So it's just come back to me what the intention was that I set, where I wanted to be a better person. I set the intention I would like to be a better person, and So that's a good thing. That's, you know, to want to be a better person. That seems pretty harmless, doesn't it? But that year was the year that I'd experienced some bullying, even as an adult. And but because I'd set the intention to be a better person, maybe it created an energy to help me through a tough situation that had recurred throughout my life. And if I look back on it now, it freed me from that experience, and it's helped me to feel that, you know what, not everyone's going to get what I say, not everyone's going to get me, not everyone's going to like my vibe. That's okay, they don't have to. And if I don't, you know, vibrate on your vibration and resonate with you, that's okay. That you know, we don't all have to get on, we don't all have to be on the same wavelength, because there's going to be other people out there that are. So it it's seeing, it's just being mindful of what your, if you set your intention, it could bring something to you that you're going to have to work through. That's what happened. But know that in setting the intention in a positive way, so being positive but wanting to be a better person, is a positive thing to want to do and be. um and it could create an experience for you that helps you overcome something that maybe you've struggled to overcome in the past. So you want to be specific, but not so specific. Well, I want to be a better person. Caveat, providing nobody bullies me. Caveat, providing nobody says anything bad about me. Caveat, you know, you can't do that. You can't be that specific, right? So you know, if you're doing something with a positive intention, your intention is positive, then there's going to be something good that comes out of that experience. So I guess that's where I'm trying to come from. I just want to backtrack a little bit because you asked me some steps you can take, and sorry if we're both going to jump each other around, but you know, having a clear mindset, contemplating on, you know, spend time contemplating what intentions you would like to set and why you want to set them. Then thinking about the words, how you're going to phrase that. And don't set so many that it becomes like a shopping list to God, you know, like, I want more money, I want a bigger house, I want this, I want that, you know, like maybe if you just keep it simple, positive, and effective. So, you know, if you want to have more money and a bigger house, you're going to have to work for it. So maybe one of your intentions is going to be in a job that you find joy. And so therefore, you know, you're creating that energy to be in a job that you enjoy, that brings you the money, that gets you the house, that gets you the job, the car, or whatever it is. So you know, if you're in a job that you're not getting much joy from, maybe you set an intention that you're going to uh, your intention is to settle into a job that you really enjoy. And therefore, it creates an energy to maybe you go and study and then you get a promotion, or you take a sideways step in the company you're in, or, you know, whatever it might be. So I think that's a good example. If people are unhappy in their jobs, for example, which happens quite a lot, you know, a good intention is, my intention is to find a job that I'm happy in and that's going to bring me what I need. And then you create that energy to get what you want. And if that's going to be a 5-bedroom house in Surrey, then, you know, you obviously have to do some work, and you have to have the right kind of criteria and education to, or have the right kind of work ethic to bring that money into your household to then buy that 5-bedroom house that in Surrey.
I think you touched on a really important point, which is intentions are not like magical thoughts that will, I mean, you snap your fingers and abundance overwhelms you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to be put in as well, and I think that's really important to be acknowledged, because I feel that sometimes people expect for them to just like be positive and good shit come their way, if you know what I mean. So that's
Yeah.
that's important to acknowledge, that we need
Mm.
to put in the work as well and show up and be present, and with the right mindset, what
Yeah.
we need and sometimes want will come towards us, because there's also that, need versus want. Sometimes we might not know what's good for us, so that's quite
Absolutely.
generous. Thank you. Okay, before we make this like an hour rapping about intention, let's like try and wrap up and bring it all
Sure.
together. Any advice or like words to end on when it comes to setting your intentions and bringing that positive, mindset into your life?
Sure. So I would say that the contemplation part of the process is really key and important, because in the contemplation process you kind of move, like, hey, don't get me wrong, I've kind of like put the thoughts and the intentions out there, like, it'd be really good if I got a really big cash lump sum tax-free this year. you know and I keep using that. I must admit, I do keep using that. But you know what, you have to buy a lottery ticket to have that come to you. So I think if you in that contemplation process, if you can boil down what's really important to you, and then think about the way in which you can be positive about manifesting and setting that intention, then you might be pleasantly surprised when you look back at that intention and what's happened. So I tend to forget sometimes what my intentions have been, because I do a couple of hours or I sometimes have a few days leading up to contemplating, oh, what will be my intentions this year? Will I roll any over? So I have tended to roll over the intention to be a better person, because I don't think that's a bad thing to want to be. And I've been pleasantly surprised when I've looked back over each year as to the things that have happened and the internal challenges I've worked on and overcome and things. But you might be pleasantly surprised when you look back, because it's important that you get that right vibe, you get that right energy, you set those intentions and then set them free, set them, like, put them in a box, put them in a jar, put them somewhere special. I've got a special place I put them, which is secret. And I'm not going to give all of my secrets away, but that goes back to, you've got to do what you're comfortable with and what you feel good about, and then forget about it. Let the weeks, months and year unfold, and then when you come back to feeling like you need to set some more intentions, look at what you set, and you might be pleasantly surprised at how those intentions have manifested for you.
Wow, that's really powerful. Thank you. Well, it's a wrap. Thank you, folks, for listening to our first episode about intentions. Hope you're going to show up for the next one. Over and out. Have a great day.